Welcome back. You're tuned in to Editor's Roundtable. Now, there's plenty of talk about tariffs, what is Trump going to do next, and what's going on in the other emerging markets. But there could be one space to hide, and that's purely domestic, or goes according to domestic factors. That's the cement space. The question is, since there's global uncertainty, will cement be the place to hide in? Well, just looking at the consumption, things look good, actually. The data that we got in, the core data that we got, said that in January, you had close to around a 14.5% growth, which told you that this growth is coming on a low base. Also, capital expenditure has perked up yet again. So that's much better in comparison to what we have seen in the previous 9 months. And for the year itself, now this is the production number, the street is working with demand of close to around demand growth of around 7 to around 8%. Keep in mind that in March, you have a higher base. Though in February you had one less day and also you had Mahakumbh, so there have been some dispatches in central India that's been impacted. So give and take everything, demand looks pretty okay with a growth of close to 7 to around 8% in Q4. That's what the street is working with. Next up, in terms of pricing, we have been covering this fact, right? That pricing has been absolutely dismal. But on a quarter-to-quarter basis, at least prices are up by around 2 to around 2.5%. So that's what will support some kind of growth in terms of realizations. While there is an attempt to push through 10 to around 20 rupees per bag. But, this is being met with some resistance because it's towards the end of the year. You have a big festival as well, which is Holi. And also you'll have the year-end volume targets. So there'll be a lot of pushing of volumes out, which could question this 10 to 20 rupees per bag increase that the street is trying to push through. So that's on pricing. Pricing relatively higher, demand as well fairly good. Input costs. Coal prices, they have continued to decline, and that's a positive actually, because thermal coal prices are down. The problem is there is some imbalance in pet coke, and that's why those prices have gone up. However, cement companies, they can source a higher amount of coal, and they'll be able to adjust this. And keep in mind that crude oil prices have come down. Normally, you see that pet coke prices as well could follow suit. So input costs are expected to be benign. However, for margins to hold out, you'll have to see a couple of price hikes to move through. Because as of now, they'll gain the benefit of lower input costs. But if pet coke prices remain stubbornly high, that's what could put some pressure on the EBITDA per ton. So for Q4, we in all probability should see an increase of close to around 150 to around 200 rupees per ton on a sequential basis on EBITDA per ton. However, to protect the margins in Q1 FY26, you'll have to see some incremental price hikes that go through as well. Finally, valuation-wise, well, in comparison to the averages, not too bad, because this has been a sector as well that's corrected in line with the market. But given that there is uncertainty on the global front, with Trump's tariffs, with what's going on in China, will cement be the place to hide? And if there is going to be an uptake in capital expenditure, this could be an indirect play as well. So we'll keep an eye out on this sector. Harsha, what do you make of this? Cement, we're talking about infrastructure spends, it's used in real estate. It could be an ancillary of sorts. And it's been not a big outperformer, it didn't give big returns. Do you think this will be a place to hide?
Nigel, I think you summarized it very well. I would agree to almost all of the points that you made on the sector. Clearly, housing capex intensity continues to be very strong, and government spend has also picked up. And going forward over the next 1 year, we should be seeing roughly about 1 lakh crores being spent on government capex, which is again going to be positive for cement. So overall, we expect about high single-digit kind of volume growth for the cement sector next year. We have already seen some pricing increases in the last couple of months, which have not been very strong. But yes, there has been some pricing increase. And if that sustains, I think the next year's volume growth and a little bit of price hikes going forward should be very positive for the sector. And more importantly, we also expect the raw material pricing to be favorable for the industry. They were not so favorable in the recent times, and also volumes were kind of very weak. But now those things seem to be changing. Clearly, I think this is one sector to watch out for, given the fact that it has very little global linkages as well. I think in the current uncertain times, definitely it's a sector to watch out for.
All right, we take that point. Harsha, thank you so much for joining in. And finally, we won't ask you for your analysis on any markets or something, but I know that you are a big cricket fan. Once I happened to be on a flight with Harsha. He was basically sitting next to me and he was reading a book on cricket itself, on VVS Lakshman. So, Harsha, I know you're a big fan. What's your assessment of the game? Do you think we stand a chance to win? Our advantages over New Zealand?
Definitely. I think India is going to win on Sunday. While New Zealand is a very good team and they have done well in recent times, but I think we will be able to defeat them.
Player of the match, who's the man who's going to take us home?
Tough call, but maybe some batsman, I guess.
I think Rohit's going to come big on that day. That's just my guess.
Let's just hope that the entire team comes big, and in that Rohit as well, and then they walk in that robotic fashion and get that cup as well. Nimesh, give it to you, the last word.
My impact player would be one of the top 3 batsmen has to be an impact player for India to win. So clearly either Rohit or Virat.
I will go for Hardik Pandya this time because all-round performance. There will be a bowling, there will be batting, and then eventually
Just make
fielding
sure
as
you're
well.
here on Monday morning.
I will be there here on Monday. All 3 of us. No, I'm not going anywhere this time around as well. But with that, what we'll do is we'll wrap up on this edition from the off stump, the middle stump, the leg stump of CNBC-TV18. We will wrap up on this edition of Editors Roundtable. Maybe the next Editors Roundtable, we have the cup right in the middle. And by that cup, we're meaning the ICC Champions Trophy itself. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good weekend.